Hey, what's going on, Heather? Thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of our show. We can't wait to get into everything that you do. How are you
Yeah.
doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And before we kick off the episode, we always like to have our guest introduce themselves. So can you let everyone know who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing it, and what your favorite drink is?
Oh, interesting. I like it. Okay, so I'm Heather Millenaar, and my business is my name, Heather Millenaar Artist. But what I do is live wedding painting, and I've been an artist my whole life. But in 2016, I really just started focusing on just wedding painting. I was kind of like the everything artist, and was just trying to find my audience, and I decided that that was what I really wanted to focus on. Favorite drink right now is Diet Dr. Pepper.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
sure.
Um, in about a week, I will be 4 years sober.
Oh, wow. Congrats on that.
Yeah.
Super cool. And from what we're looking at, it looks like is this where the studio magic happens when you do all your art magic?
Mostly, I have a studio space in my home, and then a second studio space in my home, and then a mobile RV art studio, which is how I get to work since most of my weddings are really far away. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can paint on the road, I can go on road trips, I
Oh,
can
wow.
turn, like a wedding weekend into a hangout weekend in Napa or
Yeah.
Palm Desert or
So
wherever I end up.
nice.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, and it's kind of nice to like break up the day to paint in like this space, but
Yeah.
then later in the day, like I'll have lunch and then I'll paint in another space, and it just helps break up the monotony.
Hmm.
That's so cool. I could get into all kinds of questions about this traveling studio, but before we do,
Yeah.
yeah, let's get into a little bit more about Heather's journey. So the first question we like to ask is, what did you want to be when you were a little kid? And did you ever think you'd be where you are now?
I always wanted to be an artist. I
Oh, wow.
remember I went through a period of time. Um, I don't know if it was as young as 8, which is when I moved from Los Angeles to San Luis Obispo. I remember like thinking that I should get my parents' approval to be an artist. And I was like, are you sure you guys are okay with this? And they were just adamantly like, I want you to do whatever makes you happy,
Mhm.
which isn't always the case for
Uh-huh.
people. So I'm like really blessed to have that, really lucky. Um, yeah, I mean, I've just studied art my whole life. I've done a lot of like side quests along the way.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
super cool.
Yeah,
Amazing. So you dreamt of being an artist and you're living the dream
Living the
to this
dream.
day. Wow.
living the dream. I don't know
So,
if I definitely didn't picture like exactly what I'm doing now, but I always like had this feeling like I would be destined for greater.
Oh,
So
wow.
as I was learning and studying art, I was doing a lot of painting, but then digital photography became huge in the early 2000s. So I did that, and there are a few photographers out there.
just
So
a
I was
few.
like, just a
That's up to
few.
you.
And I was like, as much as I love this, I feel like it's really hard to stand out.
Oh, for sure.
And I was like, I kind of want to get back to my roots and be a painter again. Like that's
Yeah.
what I really focused on as my primary focus in college
Oh,
and
wow.
beyond.
Hmm.
That's so
Very
cool. So you were
nice.
just like little baby Da Vinci over there, and then all of a sudden you became,
Yeah, so 8 years old, you were starting to paint and just knew from there.
yeah.
Well, my whole life. So my mom is very artistic.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
Both parents are entrepreneurs at heart,
Oh, wow.
still are. So I just I really gravitated towards the arts. I like a lot of different mediums.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I do a lot of different mediums just for fun or to loosen up, to warm up, I pretty much only put oil painting out there, like on social media and on my
Yeah.
Hmm.
website, just to like really narrow down to that one thing.
Nice.
That's super cool.
So, what, and you kind of hinted at this, but what really inspired you to start offering live wedding painting as your main service?
Yeah. For weddings. Yeah.
Yeah, so 2016 was before it kind of took off. I know there were a few artists on TikTok that just went super viral, and like hands down to them because I get the trickle down and that's plenty for me. Like I don't need a multi-million like account
Yeah.
with so many people reaching out to me all the time. I'm already really busy and I'm really selective
Mm.
on how much
Uh-huh.
I take just to manage burnout and have a
Right.
balance with life.
Yeah.
I have two kids.
Oh.
Um, so yeah, I had been doing photography and my kids were born in 2010 and 2013. So
Hmm.
focused on them when they were really little and then started getting more and more into back in the wedding industry
Yeah.
as photography. So I started doing photo packages that were like paired with a couple's favorite photo. I
Mm.
would then turn into an oil painting. So
Nice.
that was like kind of where the I started bringing painting back into my work. And one day I was just like, what if I just showed up and painted the wedding? Like, what if I just did that instead of photography?
Yeah.
I don't even really remember how the birth of that idea happened, but back then I was like networking like crazy, going to every chamber mixer,
Yeah.
any kind of wedding event, any kind
Yeah.
of like collaboration event, and just started networking like crazy. And a
Mhm.
few key people were like, you should reach out to this venue, you should talk to these people who were very, they support the arts and they were like a gateway into that industry for me. So I reached out to them and one venue was like, we have a wedding here in 2 weeks. Why don't you come to that? And I was just like, okay, we're doing this. And so I started basically telling everybody that I am a wedding painter and I had no actual portfolio.
Hmm.
So I just dove in head first
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
I have other paintings and I have my photo work, but I was like, this is what I do now. And I just like embraced it fully and completely and was like, this is my brand.
Yeah. That's super cool. Yeah. So you jumped in and it just took off from there.
Yeah.
That's so rad.
Oh, cool. I mean, such a unique specialty,
Big
and
time.
my goodness, and your paintings are so beautiful. So I can see how
Thank
it just
you.
really thrived. Yeah.
Yeah. And when photographing weddings, when there's like live painters there, I just feel
Hmm.
like I'm going to get this wedding published because like publications love things like this, like something that's different at
Hmm.
weddings. So it's completely awesome. So I wanted to ask too, so as you know, a business owner and your skill that you do, what are some challenges? Because we all face challenges in being as entrepreneurs, as you know. So what are some challenges you faced when you first began and how did you overcome them?
A lot of the struggle was like an internal struggle, just trying to figure out how I wanted to represent their wedding through
Mm,
Right.
paint.
yeah.
So obviously it's a slower process than photography,
Yeah.
where we take hundreds, if not thousands, of photos.
Yeah.
So it's like how to get the essence of their wedding in just a number of brush strokes
Oh, wow.
and have that still be within like my style of painting. Because
Mm,
even within painters, there's a wide variety. Like I feel like even wider variety than in photography. Because in
mm,
photography, there's like more editorial or very like soft, beautiful, airy.
Mm-hmm.
But with painting, I mean, it could be a watercolor, it could be acrylic, it could be oil, which is, they're all very different. So I only work in oil. But then even within that, it's like, how do you represent people? Are they very like
Mm.
loose and suggestive? Do you paint more impressionistically, which is how I paint? Um, and then the size, like how big of a canvas are you painting?
Mm.
Or is it on paper?
Yeah.
So
So
many
trying to figure
things.
that out along the way was like so difficult.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I bet.
But with each one, it like answered another question
Uh-huh.
and usually would create like 50 more. But now I have more of a formula. Every wedding is so very different that it's still not completely predictable.
Yeah.
I've definitely started paintings and had to scrub out half because the moment just was different than I
Mm-hmm.
anticipated, or I decided placement was going to change dramatically. But going with the flow of everything is just something that I've learned to do.
Do you find that your painting is easier to market and attract your clients than it was when you were a photographer?
I feel like, yeah, because if someone searches live wedding painter and they're anywhere near Central Coast of California, I
Yeah.
usually pop up. But because there are so few, I do get
Yeah.
inquiries from all over the world.
Oh, dang.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Worldwide.
And do you take
yeah.
them on outside of California?
So I was fortunate enough to do photography in Italy, which was so
So
amazing
cool.
for a private wedding.
Uh-huh.
And the furthest, so COVID was still like in full swing. I had an inquiry in Mexico at a resort,
So cool.
but then like Delta hit and they
Mm,
couldn't ensure that they could get me into the venue
yeah.
because of capacity. And then I did fly to Las Vegas.
Oh,
So that
cool.
was a cool experience, like figuring out how to transport liquids like paints.
Right.
And so that one I did start in acrylic so it could be dry enough to roll and bring back.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So,
Did you
but
have to
within
do like a bunch of travel size paint bottles? Or how'd you do
I
that?
I brought like yeah, the essentials
Uh-huh.
and smaller um and just got really creative with carry-ons, and I didn't want to check too much because I didn't want to lose anything in
Mm-hmm.
travel. So that answered a lot of questions for me because I really like, I love Europe and I love
heck yeah.
travel. It's
Oh,
always been
yeah.
such a big part of my life. So I was like, I want to travel, especially to Europe. That would be the ultimate goal. And how can I, figure out the travel portion?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of like gave me the opportunity to see what it was like.
Yeah, that's crazy. Whenever we travel and I take my film for photos, that's sometimes a hassle. I can imagine with paint
All of the
and all that.
supplies you need. Oh my
Yeah, it's
goodness. Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I've thought of other ways like ordering things ahead of time and having them available at an art
Mm,
store in that
that's smart.
city. If it's a bigger city, like that could be definitely doable.
Mhm.
For sure.
Well, for weddings here, like you said, you have like a formula somewhat figured out now.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through the process of creating a live wedding painting? Like, how do you capture that essence of the moment?
For sure.
Yeah.
So at first I just had four different sizes,
Hmm.
and I would ask the bride and groom what moment they wanted painted. So
Mm,
been a variety of things. I've had brides say, just capture the feel of the reception,
yeah.
or can you paint our first stand, or can
Mm,
you paint our first look, or
mm.
can you paint our vows, or the recessional is one of my favorites because I can see the bride and groom and I can paint them larger so I can get more detail.
Mm-hmm.
So say they want the first dance, which usually happens later in the event.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to show up before the moment, like 2 hours before, and I start to kind of like figure out placement.
Yeah.
So where do they want me? Sometimes it's more flexible. Sometimes it's like they want me in one specific spot. And I don't necessarily have to paint from that location. I
Mm.
do take photos and videos of the scene. And
Mm-hmm.
then during the moment, I take mostly video, but sometimes photos. And then with video, I can go like frame by frame and find
Right.
the
Mm.
best moments. And then I screen grab those.
Mm-hmm.
So now I offer bride and groom portraits. So it's just the bride and groom, maybe a little bit of the venue, some background. It can be like really zoomed in where it's like torso, like just a traditional portrait. It can be more candid or more formal. And the other one I offer is show the guests. So that one has like 30, 40 people.
Yeah.
And if I know ahead of time, um, like anyone that they really want in the painting, I'll have them kind of stand where I anticipate they will be standing. And
Mm.
sometimes they actually don't stand in those locations, but for the painting purpose, I have them stand there so that I
Yeah.
can see
Yeah.
them. So I'll stage parts of it early, and if they are doing that one, I show up hours early so I can start painting in more people because it's so exciting for everybody to see that process. So I'll take some reference photos of them, and then to get that many people in, I have a really nice projector that can like even project in bright sunlight because
Oh
sometimes
wow.
it's an outdoor venue and it's really bright out. And then I'll just mark out where all the 40 people are and just rough it in.
Yeah.
And then as the night's going, I'm painting and I'm talking to people, adding color, adding shadows, highlights, everything. And then if the bride and groom are okay with it, I like to include the guests and talk to
Oh.
them about like, are you an artist or do you have an artist in your family?
Oh.
Usually everyone has an art story of some sort.
Right. If they're bringing you in, it must be special to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And then I like to have them add a little bit. So if
Oh,
they're uncomfortable with it,
Oh
I'll
wow.
have them add like a cloud in the sky or a leaf on the tree. And if they're actually a painter, I'll be like, "Oh, you're actually in the painting. Why don't you add some shadow right here? This is my palette. These are the colors." And I kind of like describe some of the lingo, like if they have an idea of what art is
yeah.
Yeah.
and they are a painter, they usually eat that up. So it's a lot of fun. And then as the actual
Gosh.
moment happens, I take photo and video, figure out the image. Usually
Mm-hmm.
I can just like pick because it's fairly obvious what the best moment is. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there are so many great moments within a first dance
Yeah.
that I'll find the couple during the reception and be like, hey, out of these five, do you have a preference?
Cool.
And sometimes it surprises me what they pick. But
Yeah.
it is something I want them to have on their wall forever. So it's kind of nice to get a little bit of feedback.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This sounds so cool.
Yeah. Super cool.
There's a lot to it. So I'm an open
Uh-huh.
book.
Yeah. Talk about pressure. Like when I take photos at a wedding, I'm just taking it as I go and they don't really get to see the image that I'm taking. And then I get to go, in Lightroom and just create my magic. You're like right there in real time and you
It's like
can't.
entertainment, just watching the process. And then do they get to take it home that night?
uh,
I have tried my best. I
Uh-huh.
am a struggling perfectionist. So I'm
yeah.
like really working on like letting it go out of my studio
Mm.
and not just keeping it forever and ever. It's really hard to call it done. But um, because it's oil, it's so wet. Like the
Right.
edges are
Yeah.
wet, the whole thing is super wet. So I did one recently. I really like booked it and tried to finish it that day. But I talked to the mother of the bride and I was like, is there any way you'd be okay with me just shipping it to you as soon as it's done because I would
Mm,
love to work on it.
yeah.
And they were
Yeah.
definitely okay with that.
So
Yes.
I had a question. Do you ever like talk to the photographer if say like you're doing the ceremony and the photographer's like, hey, I see you in that corner right there, can you move so you're not in my shot? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So sometimes ahead of time I email them. Sometimes I am so far removed from everybody at the wedding because often it's a gift.
Yeah.
So someone close to them or all the bridesmaids go in on it or the
Oh,
parents.
so it's like a
Or sometimes
surprise.
it's, yeah,
Oh.
sometimes the groom buys it for the bride or vice
Mm.
versa. So I show up and I'm a surprise. I don't really know a lot of people
Yeah.
in that situation. So the first people that I can find that are in the photo or video crew, I'm like, hey, I'm a wedding painter. I take a few photos, videos, but I stay out of your way. I let you get the shot.
Yeah.
And because I was a photographer for so long, I know where they are.
Right.
Like, I
True.
know when the photos are being taken, and I stay clear of that as best as I can.
Super cool. Yeah,
Good
that's good to
point.
know. Yeah, it's really good to know. So I want to ask another question about when it comes to you working with a couple. So let's paint a picture for the clients that listen to this. Can you like let us know who chooses when it comes to what they want captured, and do you provide like a artistic decision the scene you want?
It's every wedding is so different. Some couples are so flexible and they're like, whatever you want to create, we are so happy with. Like,
Yeah.
I assume they're familiar with my work, and I like to double check within the booking process that they know, what my paintings look like.
Hmm.
They're all kind of in the same vein, but I've definitely worked with clients who maybe they are also artists or they have preferences. Like I'm super flexible and I want it to be something that they cherish. So I, when I'm, at that point and I have questions and I'm like, this photo or this guest or this guest, like sometimes there's a lot of back and forth.
Oh yeah.
What I do is after the wedding and I take it home to my studio, I take a photo of it. I'm really familiar with shooting oil paintings
Hmm.
because it's just easier to do it myself than to hire a pro. And I know how light reflects on them.
Yeah.
It's super tricky getting
Yeah.
an accurate photo. So what I do is I take a photo of where I got it to at the event, put it into Photoshop, and then I overlay up to 40 different screen grabs of different couples, different
Wow.
architectural elements.
Wow.
Yeah, and so within that process, there's also a lot of input. So if they have favorite people that somehow I miss because it's really busy at a reception, everyone's having fun. Sometimes if they have photos, they've sent me different ones to use too, which is really cool. And then I just take all those little vignettes and I overlay them within the painting and I play around with the composition. So
Oh,
if there's anything that I need to fix or adjust, sometimes I paint certain things out and we'll redo a certain area just to make it flow better.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and like I've gone back and forth a number of times changing different elements or at like the next stages, I'll finish more of the painting and then I'll lay in different things. Like if something's not working, I'll find a
Mhm.
different image. I've
Oh,
gone
wow.
through like so much video I've taken at receptions of people dancing.
Yeah.
And, instead of the mother of the bride dancing this way, I'll like do a different photo of her, a different screen grab.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So much goes into
A
this. Oh
lot goes
my
into this.
goodness.
Yeah.
And I like
And
that you,
everything I've done, like it all kind of comes together with this. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
doing photo and video for so long and learning those programs, I know how to like get the shot that I know will
yeah.
work for
Hmm.
painting.
That's what I was about to say. It's really neat how you're pulling all of your skills over the years together into this one focus. That's really nice. So I am just going back to like the live painting on wedding day. It seems like, to me, it just seems like it could be really stressful with so much going on around you. Like, how do you stay focused with all of that and ensure, I know you have to have a lot of focus on that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like on overdrive that day, just like visual overdrive. So in California, there are a lot of outdoor venues.
Yes.
So we deal with the craziest light changes. So full sun to golden hour to dusk to night to reception lighting, which is crazy. Like colorful
rainbow.
So I always use a white balance light that I can adjust the intensity and the color value, because the first weddings I did at night, even though I was near a light source, I lost the ability to see colors. I could see like 5 different colors, even though I had like 12 different paint blobs on my palette. Not having bright white balance light, it like took that away.
Oh, wow.
So I could see like tone, but I couldn't see color.
Oh, wow.
So now I use a white balance light, which helps with that. But yeah, like that eye strain of like trying to see in bright light and then having your eyes adjust throughout the day. It's definitely a challenge, but I love it. The pressure of the day surprisingly isn't that much for me. The first wedding I painted, that one where she was like, there's a wedding in 2 weeks, can you do it? I realized I was like at peace because the photographer was like running around getting all their shots. And I realized the wedding had finished and I was like still painting the ceremony. And because I wasn't like on a timeline with shot, like a shot list, I could just continue working and painting and enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so much more peaceful than me trying to fit myself into a job title of photographer. Like, I am more comfortable being a painter. And also, when I was about 10, my parents started a family entertainment business. So from age 10 and for the next 20 years, I worked as a face painter and a balloon artist and learned to be super quick. You know, I'm painting 40 kids in an hour, the moving canvas, and always being on and working with different party types. Like every crowd is different.
Yeah.
So how can I help them to have a good time? So all of that definitely led to weddings. Like I'm there at the party and I want to make sure everyone has a good time, try to like kind of figure out what they're like and their vibe. And just roll with it.
Super cool. Do you ever put in like headphones and just get in the zone so you could like take out all the noise around you to focus?
The only time I've done that, because I do a large number of Indian weddings.
Oh yeah, those get wild.
Is the sound. Because sometimes I am kind of close to speakers, so I will sometimes wear earplugs just to save my ears. And in those situations, the music and the bass is literally so loud that my canvas is like vibrating. But I like to be present and talk to everyone, and I use the music, like the feel of the wedding and the music that's going on, to like capture the environment, like the atmosphere of the event. And that is one of the things that I love. And I try to leave a lot of that, even when I take it to my studio and do a lot of the fine detail, is the atmosphere of the event.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And let's get real now, Heather. how many drunk uncles come up to you and try, try to put their take on your painting?
A number of them.
Yeah,
It tends to get more abstract as the night goes on.
I bet.
So depending on the event, sometimes like when I'm talking to the bride and groom or the coordinator, I'm like, I usually stay until the key people start to leave, like grandma,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
before the party gets like out of hand, like really crazy.
Yeah, grandma
Just
knows
because
when it's
like
about
I
to get
don't,
crazy.
yeah, she's like, I had the cake, I'm out.
Time out.
Yeah.
So funny.
I've had people get really close to touching the edge
Oh wow.
accidentally, and I don't want oil paint to get on them. So
Yeah.
it's like a way to help protect them as well. Uh, I don't mind it so much. I've had people, invite me back to their place, and I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
everything always gets back to the bride and groom. So I am there just to paint and help them have a great time. And it's so funny because like during a portion of my life, I had such a focus on how I looked, like be a certain size, look a
Mm.
certain way,
Oh wow.
and just really unhappy with myself.
Mm.
And now I always dress really nice and do my hair and makeup,
Yeah.
but because I'm not like grueling in the gym all the time and
Mm.
like so strict with my diet, I'm like super happy with who I am. And I don't know if I'm just putting the vibe out there, but I like those drunk uncles don't really come up to me anymore, and I'm okay with that.
No, no. I bet you when the people ask you like, "Oh, hey, can you come to our place?" They want you to do the Titanic drawing. You know,
Yes,
that's so
yes.
funny. Oh my
I
God.
definitely have my passion project is called the Muse Portraits.
Mm.
So the Muse Portraits are I would interview women who've overcome a struggle in their life in a positive way. And then we do a photo shoot together. It could be however risque or not that they want it to be. It's kind of like
Hmm.
boudoir, but
Yeah.
within their comfort zone. And then from there, I would develop a painting, and those would be in gallery shows, and uh, it's this whole separate thing. But that is kind of like what keeps the fire going for me,
Yeah.
like as a painter.
Yeah.
um, because it like just grinding all the time and doing like lots of little faces. I love doing it, but it's nice to break it up and do something that doesn't have a deadline, doesn't have a particular client. Like I'm doing this for me, and they're in it, so they take pride in it too.
Yeah.
Right.
Perfect. What you got,
So
Jade?
neat. And back to the live wedding painting, how do you offer like any customization option? Let's redo this. Do you offer any customization options for your live wedding paintings, such as incorporating like special details or colors that are meaningful to the couple? I can't talk
Yeah,
right now. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, it's fine. Because like with the painting, as with like a written story, if
Uh-huh.
you add too many characters, it gets overwhelming. So I stick to a small range of colors, and that's like
Right.
the
Yeah.
color story. So yeah, I pull in colors of the bridesmaids' dresses and the tuxes, which is often just so representative of the event colors. I love including different details from the event. Like I've included a close up of the table and the floral arrangements, like in the corner,
Yeah.
really close to the viewer. But then all the action is happening. But you still get
Hmm.
to remember what my flowers look like, what my table settings look like. With Indian weddings, I've been painting way more detail than when I first started. So their sari is so ornate. And I've been trying to represent more specifically what the embroidery looks like.
Super crazy. I can just go on. I can just listen for days about this crazy skill you have. We're just like fascinated.
It's
And
so
just like,
fascinating. Before it was like a thing, like photographers didn't quite know what to do with me because I wasn't on a shot list. And
oh yeah,
so
yeah.
they would pop over here and there, but um and like with wedding directories, like the bigger ones, they didn't even have a category for me. I'm not sure if they do now. So it's kind of like this island. Like, I hope they find me.
Do you like it when photographers take pictures of you in action?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I have all my paints out, my palette. Um, they sometimes they take video or photo throughout the night so they can see different things.
Yeah.
I try to grab them if they're still there because I love to have the bride and groom add to their outfits
What do you
before
mean?
the
What do you
reception's
mean to
over.
their outfits?
So I pull them over, I grab them out of the reception, and I usually tell like the best man, go get the photographer.
Yeah.
And then I give them each a paintbrush and I'm like, this
Oh,
is your
cool.
color and this is your color and these are your areas. Like paint in the shadow
Cool.
here, paint in your highlights here.
Oh, that's
Uh-huh.
super cool.
How
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, that'd be such a great picture to have.
Mhm.
Yeah, it makes such a great photo. I usually get them like they do it one by one at a time, and then they'll like both do it at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Um, Sometimes kind of staged for the photo.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a good I think publications would love that kind of stuff. I don't think I've ever seen the couple, adding to your painting. That's super
Yeah,
cool.
I
Yeah.
love doing it. It's just like a special touch. And if I can, I try to leave that. Like if I have them paint really thick, which is called impasto, my whole painting isn't usually very impasto, but sometimes they're a little bit. I try to leave those like where they painted and their stroke.
Mhm.
So crazy. All right, so let's get into because we could go on for days, Heather. But let's get into some advice for couples considering a live wedding painter, right, Jade?
Yeah. What
Okay.
advice would you give to couples who are considering adding live wedding painting to their wedding day?
Hmm.
I would suggest shop around, find an artist that has a style that you like,
Interesting.
as with photography
Yeah.
Right?
or video.
Or anything
Um,
in the industry.
yes, yes, anything. So, do you like a bulk of the artist's portfolio,
Mm,
their Instagram? Um, that's such a key thing because if you're asking your artist to paint in a style they don't normally do, it's going to be challenging
Right.
to like get a product that you're really happy with. Um, and another thing is, the price point is really all over the place with wedding painting because it's um it's so niche and
mhm.
everyone is so very different.
Yeah.
I mean, as with any wedding vendor, there's a difference in price,
Yeah.
but I feel like with all the competition in any industry, it kind of like levels out the pricing as far as like the lower ones coming up and the higher ones maybe coming down a little bit. So the pricing definitely varies. And because there aren't a lot of wedding painters, there's usually an element of travel. So just finding out what their travel fee is, if they travel, um, how much that affects the final cost and what your budget is. So if you were to walk into a gallery and buy a painting off the wall, like it's an investment.
Hmm.
And like, what is your investment value? Like, what are you willing to invest? Because I mean, you're going to be the star in your own painting.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
So
That's super
cool.
cool. Super
Mhm.
cool. And then you could auction it off because it'll be worth millions because it's made by Heather.
That's right. That's right.
That's what I'm talking about. So Heather, what's next for you? Are there any exciting projects or goals you have that you're working towards in the future?
Yeah, so I've spent the last few years kind of like in this rebirth. My life has changed so dramatically. And I got my home studio almost 2 years ago. So it took a little while to kind of settle in and get used to it. I adore it. I mean, it's just so nice to not worry about renting.
So cool.
And I've spent this time just like really figuring out how busy I can be and still be healthy.
Mm.
Burnout is a real thing for creatives, and I felt like I just kept burning out, and it was really frustrating because like I wanted like I'm super type A, and I was just like power through it, like you got this. And it was so like learning to kind of take a breath and take care of myself because I'm a better artist, I'm a better mother when I'm not overworked, and I can create better work. So when I am struggling, like I was kind of dipping into burnout over and over, I found that I could do the really easy, like repetitive parts of a painting, no problem. But when it came to the end where I'm really problem solving, like hundreds of questions going through my head as I'm painting, every hour it's like, do I shift this? How do I blend that? Like figuring out how to finish it was really hard. I couldn't do that as effectively. So I kind of worked backwards. I was like, what, as a family, what do we need to survive? And then how many weddings can I take on comfortably? And then, yeah, I've just kind of come up with that number. So that's definitely something I'm working towards.
Oh, cool. I love it. It's so simple, but it's so powerful.
Yes.
Big time. Like everyone in the creative space or anyone that's an entrepreneur needs to just, that burnout, like you mentioned, it's real, man. That's deadly. That burnout is deadly. Stress, it just tumbles down from there. My goodness, takes away your life.
It's rough. Like I feel you. If you're an artist or creative, like burnout is real.
Super real. And then you just get in this little dark hole and then you're just like lost in there and you can't get out. What's going on? Just kidding.
Yeah,
it can get dark, people. It can get dark. Yeah, it's hard. So cool. Heather, this has been awesome. But now we want to get into a fun game called This or That. So basically, we're going to ask you some questions, simple answer questions here, and you just pick an answer, one that you like the most.
Like rapid fire answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Here we go, Jade. Go for it.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
All right. Brushes or palette knives?
Brushes.
All right.
Large or small canvas?
Large.
Live painting at a small intimate wedding or a grand lavish event?
Lavish. I love both, but lavish. We'll go lavish.
Keep it bougie.
Vibrant colors or soft pastels?
Vibrant.
Musicals or plays?
Indoor or outdoor weddings?
Indoor.
Living in a futuristic city or an ancient kingdom?
Ancient.
That'd be cool.
Classic elegance or modern chic?
Classic elegance.
Quick sketches or detailed painting?
Ooh. Detailed.
Ceremony scene or first dance scene?
First dance.
First dance. Live underwater or in the sky?
Oh, sky.
That'd be cool.
Oil paintings or watercolor?
Oil.
Black and white or full color?
Full color.
Full color.
Impressionistic or realistic style? Or realism? I don't know the words.
I'll say realistic.
Destination wedding or local celebration?
Oh, destination.
Yeah.
First look or walking down the aisle?
Like recessional. It's my favorite.
Recessional.
Yeah.
The recessional. All right, here we go. Live music or DJ beats while painting?
Live
music.
Last one, live wedding painter or cartoonist?
I have seen both at weddings. Wedding painter.
Wedding painter. All right, super cool. That was awesome. We love getting some fun questions for you in there.
Yay.
And the last question we love to ask our guests is, if you could choose any superpower to have while working a wedding, what would it be and how would it help you?
So I have been trying to come up with like an invention to do this, but to like see, there's a device called camera obscura or camera lucida, which goes back to like Da Vinci times, where you could see your painting and you can see your reference photo at the same time.
Well, you got to paint me a picture here. So
what you're doing is you're looking at what you're painting on the canvas.
Yeah.
But there's like a ghost image of the reference image that you're pulling from.
Super crazy. So how would you...
Bionic eye.
There you go. Bionic
eye. There you go.
I love it. Bionic eyes. That'd be so cool. You would just like, you would see it all. That would be awesome.
No more need of all the technological Photoshop or whatever you use.
That'd be so wild. I love that answer.
Digital iris.
Yeah, it's just like it's just a Terminator eye. It's just like, That's so crazy. Hey, Heather, this has been so much fun, and we learned so much about your awesome skills and your companies and everything. But before you go, can you let our listeners know where they can find you?
I am on Instagram at Live Wedding Painter. Just look for Heather. And my website is heathermillenaar.com. Millenaar is a little tricky. It's Dutch. Millenaar.
Perfect. And we'll put those in the description down below so you can find it there.
That's right. You heard it from her. If you're looking for a live wedding painter, you know where to find one. All right, Heather, thank you so much for being on our show. We had a blast.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.